Hey folks, Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands, AncestryLands.com. Coming to you for another one. Got my mom here. She's going to be in the video today. And as we are watching my son, her grandson, do his tennis practice on this lovely day out in Pennsylvania, what a great day to talk about recent events. Recently, we had the ILA, the International Longshoremen's Association, on strike. They went to strike for 2 days. And let's just talk about some of the after effects of that strike. You all might wonder how that affects you and how that strike is going to affect the larger workforce that's to come out in the years, how that's going to affect. There are more layoffs that are going to come. Right now, if you look at the International Longshoremen's Association and their strike, one of the components of the strike was talking about um, AI technology and stopping it. One of the things that you will never be able to do is stop technology as it's progress. AI does not take sick days, does not call out, does not have work inefficiencies. AI will be there, and as you can see, AI is already being used in areas like China, who have been long had their ports using artificial intelligence over 8 years ago. So the US is very much behind that emerging technology, which has been in place for, close now to a decade, where in China, their ports are fully automated. Even in LA, there's a port in LA where that is automated, and I showed my mom a video of that, which, to much in her surprise and the other longshoremen's surprise, that technology is eventually going to be commonplace. When you have productivity that cannot match 24-hour work days, you have productivity that cannot match not being sick, not having birthdays, not having, maternity leave, paternity leave, all those things coming in place. Companies, their modus operandi, their designation is to make profit. You, as a worker that does not understand that, you're going to go on strike thinking that you can shut down the United States, which they presumably did for 2 days. That's going to be a problem because the government and corporations are never going to allow their business to be shut down for 2 days and let the workers have the power. That is going to never happen again. So what will happen is similar to the UPS situation where after they have the agreement, and it's not, the strike is not ended, it's actually postponed until I think January 15th or January 5th. And in that time, the corporations have, they're gonna find ways to implement AI technology in place. So realistically, and my mother and I were talking about this yesterday, that you're gonna see this will be the last contract they go along with. And what's stopping the corporations from just firing everyone afterwards and settling? Because if they can get the AI technology implemented and they have their ports completely automated, in the long haul, they'll make up from whatever they stand to lose right now by, defaulting on the contract. So the question is, and I'll ask my mom this, is that what does the longshoremen, the people in this situation, and this is not just to the longshoremen, the ILA, and I do support them in their efforts to try to make sure they are secured because they have families to feed. Let me say that first. But if you're in a union and you have the ability to be changed out and traded out with AI, what can the union start to do or fight for to secure their workforce in the long haul? Because what you my nephew
Yeah.
is 21. What is he, 21, 22?
Yeah.
And he's a longshoreman. And so for him, the next 20 years looks much different than some of my cousins who are longshoremen that are 40s, 50 years old. Their next 20 years looks very different. So, Ma, you tell me, what are some things that you think, what is your opinion on the issue? Because you're in a different generation than I am.
Well, I feel like AI is going to overtake the industry. They're not going to win with the contract because if you can have a machine to do all the work, like you said, there is no sick leave, there's no calling out, and these machines can work 24 hours.
Right,
So they can produce and get out a lot of things in less time than you would have if you had humans.
Right.
I think the world is coming to that. I mean, we already have it at the supermarkets. You have the self checkout,
Right.
which took away cashier's job.
Right.
So they're not going to win.
Right.
They're just not going to win. It's just going to. I think they might give them less than 10 years, and after that, it's over and done with.
So
But
go ahead. Finish up.
because if California is doing it,
Mm,
that's one state doing it. It's nothing for another state to come and try to do the same thing.
right. So you now have the East Coast southern ports where,
Hmm.
let's say, this technology is in. So the question is to anyone in a union where, even I talked to my mom, her working in where she works at, there are certain jobs like you saw the cashier. We have self checkout lines. Those
Hmm.
jobs, if you go, I went to Walmart the other day. There's probably about four people in an actual, scan your items and check you out line.
Yep.
Everyone else, they got one human watching the six or seven self checkout bag 15 items or less lines. It
Hmm.
used to be you had, well, when I was growing up, you had a 15 items or less line, but that was a human there.
Yeah, always.
Right. So now we used to
And you
have,
had about 10 cashiers.
right, or even longer. You had more. The busier the stores got, like
Hmm.
Pathmark and any of the other supermarkets, you had long. You had more aisles where you could cash out at, and now that's done away. And they even have cash only or credit only,
Hmm.
lines where you could check out. So the question is, you as a worker seeing this now, what do you? And I'm gonna pass it to you, Mom. You know, there's no right answer or wrong
Right.
answer, but where? Okay, so now you're seeing this in real time. AI is going to replace your position. All
Of
right.
course.
What do you do if you have 10 years to figure out a plan? What do you think you would tell people to do?
Go back to school, get a
Right.
degree. You can or get in the medical field. Like
Right.
I'm a deli clerk. They're gonna have a machine that's gonna cut the meat. But like you said, if a fly lands on it, it's still gonna
Right.
package it up and keep right on going. So
Right.
that fly can't do anything. And you just need one or two people to watch the machines.
Right.
That's all you need. So my job is gonna phase out. I might have, well, maybe 10 years
Right.
before all of that, but all of the jobs are going to phase out and you're going to have AI doing everything.
Right.
And if you don't have a degree, you can't take away nursing and you can't take away teaching. Those are two things you cannot take away. So if you're not in that field, you're lost.
Right. And the question posed is that, and I think just to sum it down a little bit further, is that you need to look at building skill sets. You
Hmm.
need to look at education as one, going back to school, but you got to put a plan in place because
Yeah.
one, long term, you're not going to, and I told my mom this the other day. It's like when people rode horses, you had the horse and buggy. Once upon a time, you had a horse drive your cart, your carriage, if you
Hmm.
will, in the Western time to get you somewhere. Then they had trains. Okay, then trains modernized now, and now we have planes and cars. But it's essentially like someone who horse-drawn carriages fighting the automobile. At one
Hmm.
point, owning a bicycle was a luxury item,
Yep.
and now you don't have that. So again, you're looking at this emerging technology, and yes, it is going to replace humans, but
Hmm.
the humans have the ability to get ahead of it by getting skilled positions in jobs that they now can maintain employment in. But you're not going to be, just think about it, right? The ILA was fighting for 77% wage gains, right? If a company is able to say, okay, we'll put AI in place, save that 77%, and then they're going to have a, machine tax, if you will, for being automated and not having humans, they could pay 30% of that wage increase and not pay the 77 and still save 40, 44 or
Hmm.
47%.
Right.
So again, it's you got to build skills. And even in me as a nurse, I have this business, this YouTube channel,
Yep.
because you need to have something else. All right. When I moved from California to here, the hourly wages are nowhere near as much as they were in California, but the cost of living in affluent areas are. There's very similar to California. So now I have half the wages. You need to have supplemental income, and you do that by building skills, having a business, and creating a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're going to fail. So the gist of this video is to show everyone that, when you go to your parents and parents too that have 40-year-old children, or 40-year-old parents have 20-year-old children, and so on and so forth. You got to be having these conversations,
Yep.
and everything can't just be we're going to watch social media and complain about it. The government is putting this technology in because, again, our country is run by corporations, and
Yep.
corporations are all for profit. They don't care about you only for right now. And the more your productivity goes down, the more they're going to be replacing you.
Yep.
Any last words, Mom?
Well, everything you said was definitely correct, but you have to realize that AI is going to take over the world. And if, like my son said, if you don't have a plan, if you don't go back to school, if you don't have a plan, you have your own business, you're going to be lost. You're actually going to be in poverty and homeless because you won't be able to afford anything.
Right.
So you have to get on top of that right away. That is a must. I mean, you have to start planning today for that. I have a nephew that's got about 15 years in. If he can get 5 more years or 6 more years out of, or either 10 more years, that would have saved him, and he would get a retirement from that. But other than that, it's and there are no more corporations that are giving you 401ks.
Right.
You don't have any retirement anymore. Even with my job, I work for Publix. We have 401ks, we have retirement, but this is the last of the generations that's doing that. They're doing away with it. When it comes to retirement, you have to put your own retirement and save for your own retirement. Back, I mean, it was always they either matched it, gave you 8%, 10%. They're not doing that anymore. So this generation, even with my son's generation, like I said, if you're not into nursing or a school teacher that has a 401, nobody else is going to give it to you.
Right.
So it's over and done with. Even in the grocery industry, they're going to have AI. Like I said, they have self checkout. So with having self checkout, you done took away all of those jobs. If you got 8 self checkouts, that was 8 cashiers that used to do work.
Right.
They're going to get rid of everything. It's going to be a slow thing, but when they do it, it's going to happen very rapidly,
Right.
and you're not going to have anything.
Right. Well said, Mom. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands. Thanks, Mom, for joining the video.
Yes.
Make sure you all like, share, subscribe. And in the next video, we're going to talk about what are you going to do? Let's talk. We're going to go into problem a little bit greater detail about the issue with AI being everywhere and where you can go actually to seek out jobs to be useful at a time where AI is taking over. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands. Make sure you get my book, Getting Dollars from Dirt. The Beginner's Guide to Vacant Land Investing is in the description section below. Make sure you like, share, and go to ancestrylands.com to get yourself some property because you remember,
Buy that land.
I always say, own property or you'll be owned as property. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands. Thanks, Mom. And we're out. Peace.
Bye.